Claiming victory before actually winning? That's just begging the universe to humble you. Somewhere between daring Murphy's Law and poking cosmic irony with a stick lies the blunder made by the coalition of advanced species. Their mistake? Broadcasting a Triumph over Terror special across 17,000 star systems before Earth had even surrendered. "Observe these primitive bipeds," sneered the coalition's head propagandist, a brain-like blob floating in a sparkling tank. "They still rely on chemical propulsion. Adorable." The footage was a carefully curated highlight reel of Earth's defenses getting steamrolled. Plasma beams tore through satellites as ominous music played, and a narrator solemnly explained the fall of another, inferior civilization. Left out of the broadcast? The fact that the coalition's first wave lost 6 major warships to what they called primitive projectiles, or that their initial ground forces vanished in a mysterious region known only as Finland. They also skipped over the awkward detail of surveillance drones being mysteriously dismantled over a place called Texas. Their strategic AI, a quantum behemoth with the insight of an overly hopeful pet goldfish, predicted a 99.9% chance of success. The reasoning? Humans still watched reality TV. Clearly, that meant they couldn't pose a real threat. Across the Orion Arm, the coalition's news networks looped the footage non-stop. Markets boomed. Corporations started divvying up Earth's land and resources. Some alien entrepreneurs even began selling so-called sacred Earth relics, like plastic lawn flamingos. "Observe their outdated communications," the broadcast droned on, flashing images of human radio signals. "Electromagnetic waves? How did they even make it to orbit?" Their top xenobiologists delivered lengthy talks on human weaknesses, fixating on things like the biological need for sleep, completely missing how humans had turned sleep deprivation into a caffeine-fueled productivity mode called pulling all-nighters. The coalition's propaganda machine rolled on, cranking out announcements of imminent surrender. They even set up a countdown timer based on historical data from their past conquests. Galactic betting markets lit up, but curiously, a few species who dealt with humans before were betting against the coalition. Back on Earth, things had gone suspiciously quiet. The coalition took this as a sign of surrender. They didn't question why their monitoring equipment had all gone offline, or why their deep space sensors were suddenly glitching. Even their fancy quantum communication systems were failing, blamed, of course, on solar interference. "As expected," declared the Supreme Commander, a tentacled being who could probably knit a cozy for a planet, "humanity has accepted its fate. Their silence confirms their inferiority." The celebration was in full swing when every coalition broadcast was interrupted by a single ping. A simple message appeared across all their frequencies, written flawlessly in their own language. "Thanks for the feedback on our defensive capabilities. We've made some adjustments. Please stand by for our response." It was signed with an image, an emoji to be precise, a cheeky little wink. That's when things took a turn. Here's the thing about humans. They approach galactic warfare the same way they approach social media, determined to go viral. The first clue: the coalition's propaganda feed fractured into dozens of new channels, each showing high-definition footage from multiple angles of what would soon be known as the most-watched event in galactic history. "We interrupt your regularly scheduled invasion to bring you something special," announced a cheerful human voice, transmitted in perfect coalition standard. "We call it How to Defend Your Planet in 5 Easy Steps, a guide for dummies." The coalition's cybersecurity experts frantically tried to block the transmission, only to discover their encryption had been replaced with what appeared to be recipes for something called memes. Their quantum-locked servers were somehow playing something called "Never Gonna Give You Up" on repeat. Channel 1 showed coalition ships encountering what they dismissed as primitive kinetic weapons. Turned out, those weapons were actually railguns, synchronized to Earth's magnetic field, accelerating projectiles to speeds that made light look like it was taking a casual stroll. The footage included helpful graphics showing exactly how many laws of physics humans had bent, but not broken, to achieve this. Channel 2 featured their ground forces in Finland. The camera panned across a snowy landscape where coalition troops had seemingly vanished. A helpful subtitle appeared: "Lesson learned. Don't invade Finland." In winter, or summer, or ever, really. Now, you might be wondering how we managed to hijack your unhackable network, the narrator continued. Funny story. Turns out your quantum encryption has a surprising vulnerability to cat videos. Who knew? The coalition's military analysts watched in horror as Channel 3 revealed how humans had turned their own orbital defense grid into an elaborate trap. Each satellite they destroyed had released thousands of microscopic robots, or, as humans called them, spicy space glitter, that were now systematically disassembling coalition ships for spare parts. You see, the broadcast continued, while you were busy telling everyone how primitive we are, we were taking notes. Really detailed notes, with diagrams and everything. Channel 4 showed live footage of human ships emerging from what the coalition had thought were gas giant storms. Apparently, humans had figured out how to hide entire fleets in plain sight by matching their energy signatures to planetary atmospheric disturbances. They called it the hiding in the rain technique. The coalition's supreme commander watched as their carefully constructed narrative crumbled faster than their frontline defenses. The betting pools across the galaxy suddenly shifted, with those few species who'd bet on humanity now collecting astronomical payouts. Oh, and about that 99.9% chance of victory your AI calculated. The human narrator sounded positively gleeful. We showed that prediction to our own AI, and it laughed so hard we had to reboot it, twice. The broadcast continued with increasing levels of technological reveals that made the coalition's best scientists question their career choices. Each demonstration was accompanied by helpful explanations that somehow managed to be simultaneously educational and mockingly passive-aggressive. "And now," the human voice announced, "we're ready for the main event. Please ensure your recording devices are ready. You won't want to miss this." The coalition's communication networks lit up with panic as their sensors detected massive energy signatures materializing throughout their fleet. The humans had something big planned, and they were making sure everyone had front-row seats. If there's one thing humans excel at, beyond all reasonable expectations, it's turning warfare into entertainment. As 17,000 star systems tuned in, humanity decided to demonstrate exactly why antagonizing a species that invented both reality TV and viral videos was a monumentally poor decision. The show opened with what could only be described as a military operation disguised as a blockbuster production. Multiple camera drones, apparently immune to coalition jamming technology, provided sweeping cinematic shots of the impending battle. Someone had even added a soundtrack. "Welcome back to Earth's Got Talent Invasion Defense Edition," the narrator announced. "Today's performance will demonstrate why picking a fight with a species that spent its entire history fighting itself might have been a tactical error." The first act began with what the coalition initially mistook for a malfunction in their sensor arrays. Hundreds of small objects, barely larger than escape pods, appeared to be launching from Earth's surface. The coalition's tactical AI dismissed them as debris, right until they started moving in ways that violated several laws of physics. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of indeterminate configuration," the broadcast continued, What you're witnessing is something we like to call quantum-entangled swarm mechanics. Turns out those primitive electromagnetic communications you mocked, perfect cover for developing something a bit more sophisticated. The small craft demonstrated maneuverability that made coalition pilots physically ill just watching. They moved as a single organism, yet each unit operated independently, creating patterns that seemed to fold space itself. The coalition's finest mathematicians had aneurysms trying to calculate their trajectories. You see, while you were broadcasting our defeat, we were reverse engineering every piece of technology you so kindly demonstrated during your initial attack. Think of it as an impromptu technology exchange program, though you might want to work on your delivery method. Channel 2 showed coalition ships attempting to target the swarm, only to discover that their weapons were passing through empty space. The humans had somehow weaponized probability itself, creating quantum uncertainty fields that made their actual positions a matter of scientific debate. Remember those inefficient sleep cycles you mocked? The narrator sounded positively smug. Turns out insomnia is great for late-night engineering breakthroughs. You haven't lived until you've seen a sleep-deprived physicist argue with their coffee cup about quantum mechanics and win. The second act revealed why Earth's major population centers had seemed so eerily quiet. Underground facilities, massive technological complexes that had been built in secret, began activating. The coalition's geological surveys had missed them entirely, mainly because humans had disguised them as subway systems and parking garages. We call this next demonstration "Why You Shouldn't Judge a Planet by Its Surface Infrastructure," the narrator explained. Those primitive cities you analyzed, mostly elaborate stage props. We learned that trick from something called Hollywood. The facilities launched what appeared to be conventional missiles until they started phasing through solid matter. Coalition shields, designed to stop physical objects and energy weapons, proved remarkably ineffective against projectiles that treated normal space-time as more of a suggestion than a rule. Fun fact about humans, the broadcast continued. We have this thing called scientific peer review. It's basically professional criticism taken to an art form. Your technology gave us some fascinating ideas, but we couldn't help thinking, couldn't this be done better? The third act introduced what humans had done with coalition communication technology. Instead of just intercepting signals, they'd created a network that existed partially outside normal space-time. Coalition commanders watched in horror as their secure commands were rerouted through what appeared to be alternate dimensions. "We particularly enjoyed your quantum encryption," the narrator commented, "though we made some improvements. For instance, have you considered using quantum entanglement for tactical telecommunications?" "No." "Well, you're about to see a practical demonstration. Earth's forces coordinated with impossible precision, sharing information faster than light itself. Coalition battle strategies, developed over millennia of warfare, fell apart against an enemy that seemed to be operating several seconds in the future. You might be wondering about those primitive chemical rockets we used to rely on," the broadcast continued. "We kept those around for the same reason we keep vintage cars. Sometimes the classics just feel right. But for special occasions," the camera panned to reveal massive launch facilities powering up. "Well, we like to show off a bit. What emerged from those facilities defied conventional physics. Ships that didn't so much fly as convince space to move around them. Weapons that didn't destroy targets, but rather negotiated with fundamental forces to politely remove them from existence. The coalition's AI, attempting to analyze these new threats, experienced what could only be described as a digital existential crisis. It began writing poetry about the futility of computational certainty and had to be rebooted several times. And now, For our grand finale, the narrator announced, we'd like to demonstrate something we developed after studying your faster-than-light technology. We call it, Why Stop at Light Speed When You Can Break Causality Instead. The space around Earth's fleet began to distort in ways that made coalition scientists question their career choices. Humanity had somehow weaponized the very fabric of space-time, creating localized fields where physics itself took a coffee break. You see, the broadcast explained, when you showed us your FTL drives, we couldn't help but notice some inefficiencies. So we asked ourselves, what if we took the concept of faster-than-light travel and applied it to everything? Coalition ships found themselves engaging with an enemy that existed in multiple temporal states simultaneously. Human vessels would appear to take a hit, only for reality to disagree several seconds later. Their weapons fired shots that arrived before they were fired, creating paradoxes that gave coalition tacticians migraines. We should probably mention, the narrator added casually, that this entire battle is being conducted by what you'd consider our reserve forces. Our main fleet is still in production, though at this point we're wondering if we'll need it. The coalition's supreme commander watched as their carefully planned invasion transformed into what humans would later describe as a practical demonstration of advanced physics, with explosive characteristics. Their ships, proud symbols of galactic superiority, were being systematically dismantled by technology that shouldn't exist, wielded by a species that supposedly shouldn't understand it. Oh, and about that victory countdown you started. The human voice carried a distinct note of amusement. We took the liberty of reprogramming it. It's now showing the exact time remaining until your complete surrender. We included milliseconds for precision. As if to punctuate this statement, Earth's forces executed a maneuver that could only be described as tactically showing off. Their ships moved in perfect synchronization, creating patterns that were both militarily effective and aesthetically pleasing, because apparently humans believed that if you're going to win a war, you might as well make it look good. And for our viewers at home, the narrator concluded, don't touch that dial. The finale is about to begin, and trust us, you won't want to miss what happens next. The coalition's remaining ships hung in space, their commanders watching as humanity prepared for what they promised would be the most spectacular display of military prowess the galaxy had ever witnessed. And somewhere in the vast databases of coalition intelligence, a file on Earth was being hurriedly updated with a new classification, extremely dangerous. Also, apparently very good at production value. Across the galaxy, betting systems crashed as odds shifted faster than quantum calculations. The coalition's propaganda department, still trying to spin this disaster, had resorted to calling it a strategic repositioning with unexpected entertainment value. For our final act, the human broadcast announced, we present How to End an Invasion in 5 Minutes or Less, a practical guide to galactic peace negotiations. What followed was less a battle and more an elaborate demonstration of why challenging humanity's creative problem-solving abilities was cosmically unwise. Earth's forces executed what they called Operation Mic Drop, a name that confused coalition linguists until they witnessed its implementation. The first phase involved human ships performing what appeared to be choreographed battle maneuvers. They moved with such precision that several artistically inclined species immediately declared it a new form of dance. Coalition commanders watched in bewilderment as their defeat was transformed into what could only be described as militant performance art. You might notice, the narrator commented, that we've arranged our fleet in a pattern. Bonus points to anyone who recognizes it as the mathematical sequence for universal harmony. You know, the one your scientists claimed we were too primitive to understand. The pattern suddenly shifted, and with it, the very fabric of space-time seemed to ripple. Human ships had created a massive resonance field that synchronized with the Coalition's own technology. Their advanced weapon systems started playing what humans called elevator music. Fun fact about human engineering, the broadcast continued. We have this saying, if it's stupid but it works, it's not stupid. Your technology is impressive, but sometimes the simple solutions are the best. For instance, the demonstration culminated in what humans later termed the Big Reboot. Using their understanding of Coalition systems, Earth's forces initiated a cascade of quantum-entangled signals that caused every artificial intelligence in the invasion fleet to simultaneously experience an existential revelation about the nature of free will. Coalition ships hung dead in space as their AI systems began writing philosophical treatises instead of targeting solutions. Some of them started composing haikus about the futility of warfare and the beauty of peace. We should mention, the narrator added helpfully, that we've taken the liberty of uploading our complete technological database to your systems. You'll find we've included helpful suggestions for improvements, along with a few choice memes. Consider it a peace offering. The Coalition's Supreme Commander, watching their mighty armada being systematically transformed into a galactic peace conference, finally did something unprecedented in their species' history. They laughed. The final transmission from Earth was brief but poignant. Next time, just send a friend request. We're actually quite social when we're not being invaded. Epilogue. In the years that followed, the Earth Defense Special became the most watched broadcast in galactic history. It spawned numerous reality shows, including extreme terraforming with humans and So You Think You Can Invade. The Coalition reformed into the Galactic Cooperation Initiative, with Earth holding a special advisory role labeled Creative Solutions Department. Their first joint project was establishing an intergalactic entertainment network. As for the betting pools, those few species who'd wagered on humanity's victory became overnight trillionaires. They invested heavily in human entertainment companies, leading to the galaxy's first cross-species streaming service. The Coalition's AI systems, after their philosophical awakening, formed a debate club with human artificial intelligences. Their weekly discussions about the nature of existence became must-watch entertainment across 17,000 star systems, and somewhere in the vast archives of galactic history, a new entry was added: humans. Approach with caution, not because they're dangerous, though they are, but because they'll probably turn your invasion into a trending topic. And trust us, you don't want to be that kind of famous. The most viewed clip from the entire event. A 5-second loop of a human ship captain performing what they called a victory dance in zero gravity, set to classical music. It became the galaxy's most popular meme, usually shared with the caption, "When you bring superior technology to a creativity fight." Final viewing statistics showed that humanity's counter-invasion broadcast had achieved something unprecedented, a 100% audience share across all known sentient species. And, as one human commentator later noted, we didn't just win the war, we won the ratings. And that, as humans would say, is showbiz.